that should be it working now.
Hi everyone, so the usual question, if you can hear us and see us, can you just say hi in the comments, and then we know we're all up and working. A little bit late, had some technical issues and some loco issues, but all seems to be working now. Just going to move some of this stuff, get something different running around a little one.
Well, the phone says that it's not working, but then it says it's live, but then it says there's no video. I hate it when people put ads on their YouTube videos. There we go, yeah, loud and clear, we are good. Alright.
So, apparently we are live.
Yep, loud and clear,
Got
hello.
Oh, jolly good. How many people we got watching so far? Oh, we have a bit of a delay on that then.
This is delayed. No, so that's the YouTube stream, this is ours, which is in time. The delay between us and YouTube is about 15 seconds.
Alright. But people can see this,
yeah,
as well as us. Jolly good.
28 viewers at the moment.
Hi everyone, does anybody have any questions for us?
34 viewers.
So this little loco that's coming now round, the green one that's just gone round there, that's a bit of a mystery, that one, because I didn't even know I had it. I didn't even remember buying it. I've no idea where it came from, and it has appeared in one of my drawers when we were sorting out the locomotives.
What loco?
This one.
Ah.
It's a lovely...
I've seen that before.
Yeah, but I've no idea. I don't remember buying it, don't know where it came from. So obviously in a burst of enthusiasm on eBay I bought it. It's a very nice little loco anyway. So do we have any questions?
Any new bargains to show?
Oh yeah, there is.
Other than the YouTube video?
Oh, well, only the ones that I showed on the video.
Alright, we can do that.
Is the camera there?
This one, or that one, you can choose.
So this one, which was a little Moseley Tom Macadam 040 Hornby boxed, brand new, effectively not run at all, £13.60 including postage. So very, very much a bargain, that one.
I can show mine when it comes around. Other new bargain coming round.
Did I see you the other day, Doug, had 3D printed some buffers?
For what?
On most of my diesel locos,
there we
some
go.
buffers.
So that is a class 90 in intercity livery, Hornby Railroad, which was £35 including postage. Again, boxed and looked completely unused. Pretty much brand new.
But I have to say, eBay's still very problematic. It's very hit and miss.
Even the box looks completely brand new and like not scratched.
That was a complete bargain.
Yeah, I don't know how I managed to get that.
So there are bits out there, but it's getting much harder. And as we were sort of looking earlier before we started the live stream, and there's still people asking way too much, and presumably some people paying way too much. The problem is with a new coach, even the discounted coach now from Hornby is 40 instead of 60, which suddenly means that second-hand coaches are going to be £25–30. The new 040s are 60. You can just about get them at 50 discounted, which means the second-hand ones are going for 30–35 generally. The problem is some of them are the new ones like that, which are perfectly reasonable locomotives, and some of the 30-year-olds awful ones which simply are not worth 30 quid. So it's a very tough time if you're new to the hobby trying to buy second-hand, I think.
Is each one boxed or in the drawer?
I've no idea. No idea. I think it's in a box. No, that's the one that doesn't have the buffer box, I think. Yeah. So we're just hunting through for locomotives to run. Learn basics about British Railways. It's tricky actually, books, because quite a lot of railway books are really badly written. I've, no, it says schools on the front. Schools front. Some of them are very dry because they're written. This happened on this date. This happened on this date. No explanation of why or anything like that. Mr. Knock, is it, who writes some very good books? There's a few of his that are quite good. It's you know, it's an interesting one. The difficulty as well is a lot of the ones that were written in the 1960s were very jaundiced because they were written by the steam enthusiasts who hated diesels as a matter of religious pride, without understanding that actually the diesels were going to try and to save the railways. And so a lot of the history is quite jaundiced, and you need to find writers that give a more balanced view of what was happening. I've been doing quite a bit of reading lately, and it's obvious that the real heyday of the railways were the 1920s, because all the steam enthusiasts grew up in the 1950s and 1960s when they were children, knowing nothing about the railways, and then, yeah, if you can get it running, and then sort of had rose-tinted glasses and started writing histories. The railways were in decline from the 1920s. Very few lines were you know, very healthy by the 1950s. So it's quite difficult to find histories that sort of are very illuminating. In reality, we don't really care. I read them because I'm interested. From a model railway perspective, we're sitting here at the moment running BR Black, Intercity Swallow, LNER, all at the same time. And we do that when we run trains. We just pick a loco. Oh, I like that. I run something with it. You know, if you really want to know, you want to make sure it runs first.
I'm fairly certain it does.
What, over those points?
I haven't tried that.
Doug's redone the fiddle yard.
It's high-speed intercity.
And I think it's possible that one or two of the points at the end are not quite right.
Well, they are for my high-speed intercities, which are really high-speeding.
Doug's been running Bobo diesels over them, which of course will run over anything. When we've then tried running some of the tender locos with front-wheel bogies, they're protesting.
Well, they should be fine because I've changed it all for express points.
Yeah, but it's the twisty bits that you put in here and over there.
Change that last point.
So Doug may well have to play with them because one of the tender locos, which is my county class, is actually the one loco. Because the question I was going to ask people is, what loco would you keep if you could only have one?
No, my Evening Star works fine. It was just that one loco.
Yeah. I don't know where that loco's gone. I've just had.
Evening Star coming through.
So the one loco I'd keep is that one, which is a county class, the Cotswolds, which I got for a very cheap price about 5 years ago. Usually runs over anything, and it's really smooth and quiet. It's just Doug's dodgy track work.
Well, it's not, because the Evening Star's just come over it fine.
Yeah, but that's a really old loco with very old-fashioned tolerances.
Yeah, it's also huge, so...
Yeah, you've got too much shoved in there. Can't see.
Yeah, I realise that now.
Or, of course, the other argument could be that we've got too many locomotives.
Well, we know that.
Well, you just went and bought two more.
Yeah, but I'm selling one.
True. So what we are going to do, we're going to be selling some stuff off actually soon because we do have too many locos, and I've got too many interests. Have we got any more questions, Doug? Because I don't have my glasses, and you're supposed to be checking questions.
Not really.
No, what does not really mean?
We have some statements, but no questions.
Well, I can have a look and answer them.
Statements are, my overall Saddle Tank Castle Donington power station was about 25 pence off the car boot at Stafford. Well, that is a bargain.
Yep.
I got my original Intercity 225 for £9 at a car boot.
Doug's asking, somebody asked, are you enjoying your course, Doug?
I will be next year.
Yeah, he will be next year. Yeah.
When I'm actually doing electronic systems engineering.
So, what I would say, Morris, is don't pay too much for books. Some of the second-hand bookshops have got a bit pricey, but you can sometimes get them on eBay, some of the charity shops. But I would have a read of them before you buy them if you can, because some are very dry. Favourite locos of all time? I am a big Deltic fan. I've got to try and get a Deltic because mine's broken at the moment. I like Hymex. I realise I am a Philistine for a lot of people because I'm really a diesel person, in all honesty. I think they're very impressive machines, and everybody has something a different favourite. I can't see that one.
It just says good evening.
Ah. But yeah, Doug's hoping to enjoy his course next year because he's finished with maths now, so he can do his electronic engineering next year.
Just
proper
plenty of
course,
integrating maths.
which he'll be very good at because he got 80% in his electronics exams.
I got an
actually,
A in A level.
and an A at A level. It's just his maths has always been a little bit problematic.
Maths is bad.
But he's got through that now and can concentrate on his engineering next year. He's going to have, he's got some friends now at uni. He's got an old friend from school who's going to the same uni next year.
He'll be a fresher.
He'll be a fresher, so Doug can go. So yeah, we're hoping he'll be happy bunny next year.
Can you give it a push? It needs a push. Only because it's stalled. No, you pushed and derailed it.
I didn't push Andy.
It is, it's the loco you just
No,
derailed.
I haven't. It's a wagon. Stop. Stop.
I'm stopping it as fast as it stops.
You haven't got a brake van.
Yeah, well, it's a big loco. Who said it ever needs to
They
stop?
need brake vans. They're in one of the drawers. And then we'll move the camera in a minute so that you get a different view. Because we got the top circuit done. If anybody saw the video yesterday, Doug laser cut a plywood support. How do I refresh that?
It's constantly updating. It's constantly updating, that is.
Okay.
Yeah, we didn't really give people much notice.
Yeah, we just suddenly decided to do this today. I think Doug's been over ambitious with what he's trying to run, but there you go.
Never. We have an express freight coming through. Have you given up on your HO scale stuff? Should I show up there?
No, not well. Does that need to be up there? Does it?
That's our microphone.
Okay. Doug will show you. No, I'm not giving up on
We
the
have a new
HO.
excellent wireless webcam, otherwise known as my phone live streaming to the computer and then the computer live streaming
Right.
to you.
So we need the mic there, but that's my HO layout. So there's a bit of a story behind that because having finally got Cyril Freezer, of course, in one of his books, finally explained how an Inglenook works. I'm really passionate about the Inglenook track plan, which is just the 2 points and the 3 sidings, because it does enable you to build a compact layout, which enables you to do some shunting. So basically, I'm not going to go any further with HO than that. I have 3 or 4 really nice locomotives and I have a lot of rolling stock. I am going to sell off, I've got some American HO locos and wagons that I bought with the expectation that I would do an American layout. The reality is I have no room, and so there's no point sitting on them. I can do a few more in, but basically once the shed's done, then there's no room. I really like the American short lines, the modern ones, but I can emulate that in N much better than I can in HO.
How's that for a camera angle? Not good, it fell over.
Yeah, we have done double heading locos, double heading 9Fs actually, quite often double headed diesels.
Alright.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, you can see the back of Doug. That's the best view of Doug, is the back. Actually. Well, it's generally said to be the best view of me because it means I'm going away, which for some strange reason people seem to enjoy. But yeah, you can double head locos, but you need to make sure that they've got similar power out. You know, they run the same way. So, you know, 2 of the same locos.
How does that look? Can't really see it because the door's
no,
open.
You need to show them.
Hold on.
Press the door.
How about now?
Yeah, that's a bit better. So you
There
can
you
see
go.
the lights now that Doug put on the platforms and into the buildings. I mean, Doug did two things really that I wouldn't have done myself, so I'm very grateful. One is lighting in the buildings, because that's always been beyond me. It's not really an aspiration I've ever had, but I really like the look of it. It works really well. And of course the work Doug did with the point switches on the fiddle yard is well beyond my wiring expertise.
Really? You can't do a diode matrix?
So that is going to be, as long as it doesn't break while he's at uni, in which case I should be using some very Anglo-Saxon words, because I have no idea how to fix it. And of course, the laser cut viaduct will transform the top layout. So he's been quite useful while he's been home, to be fair. Tom's Modelling Corner. Glad it's giving you some nice memories. Hopefully you might be able to have a new layout. One of the projects I'm working on is potentially doing a 00 Inglenook, just to say to people, look, you can have a layout. It might not be the layout you want, it might not be the big thing you always want, but you can have a layout. And I'm a firm believer that any layout is better than no layout. It was very interesting talking to somebody recently, and I realised that the problem that a lot of people do is they go and buy a Flying Scotsman or a large diesel and some big coaches, and then spend the next 10 years wondering where they're going to run it. Much better to buy some small stuff, in my view, build a little Inglenook layout and at least have something running.
What size is our shed?
It's 12 foot by 8 foot. And
it's not too big.
And we're going to end up with about 2/3 of it scenic by the time it's done. Somebody the other day had a 10 foot by 6 foot, which is ample. And actually the reason that most books quote 6 foot by 4 foot as the standard layout is that's the standard small shed. And if you get one of Cyril Freeze's books, he did some really amazing layouts in only 6 foot by 4 foot. One of his standard ones, I haven't got the book down here, is quite incredible. There's 2 stations, all sorts of things in there, in only 6 foot by 4 foot. So it can be done. Again, the shed works largely thanks to Doug, because above us is an insulated roof. So that's got foil, 20mm polystyrene foam.
It's got foil like that.
Yep.
And then
Polystyrene like that. And then hardboard. Okay, the hardboard sagged a bit, but it means it's completely dry and it's insulated. We put a floor down, or I actually did that. I put a laminate floor down.
I put the carpet down.
Don't put the carpet down.
And then we spilled paint on it like 2 days later.
I put laminate down because we had some lying around. The walls are insulated, so they've got foil and timber on them. We had a loft, and the loft was insulated, and it had a window. It's still too hot in the summer and far too cold in the winter. And seeing on Instagram, that's the experience most people are having. Given a choice, it would have been nice to go into the shed 4 or 5 years earlier, but it was the usual shed like people's garage. It was used for storing stuff. But we've now got it really coming along really well. I've got my N-gauge stored in here, my HO stored in here, and obviously the big shed layout. How many people are we up to then, Doug?
46 currently.
Oh, jolly good. We're usually in the hundreds, so
the good news
spread
is,
the word.
While you were on holiday and I sorted all the Wi-Fi boosters out, we've had 0 drop frames, which means no buffering at all.
That's good.
So I've finally sorted the boosters.
That's good. Do you want to show people this bit then, Doug?
Yeah.
So we showed this in the last video, but and yes, we do work in a mess. I'm sorry, I do, for all sorts of reasons. If it offends, I'm sorry, but I believe tidy desk's a sign of a sick mind.
Right,
I've got better as I've got older. So this is the plywood. It's only 5mm ply.
No, I think it's 3mm.
Oh, no, it's 5mm.
No, it's 3mm.
Well, anyway, it's thin ply that Doug laser cut to a constant radius. We've put supports in, all glued down. So this is much superior to the old foam board. But the foam board was a really good product demonstrator because we've cleared all the shelves over there, that means we can get a first radius curve in, which doesn't actually impede as much as the old Jouf one. We've done the track plan, Doug can show you. So that's going to be a double siding quarry where the loco is at the moment, a little station with a bay, and that's it. Just simple. Yeah, absolutely, Tom. It does get a bit cold in the winter, but we have no idea where it is at the moment.
Down there.
We have a small electric heater which we can put on a it's got a thermostat, and we can set it at 6 degrees and leave it in here, and that actually in the winter just keeps the chill off, and it means that if I come in I can turn that up, and actually quite quickly it's quite cozy in here. I think we only had a couple of days, didn't we, where it was really a bit nippy.
Yeah, but I think that was when we hadn't had the heater on.
The reason it works in the summer is that pretty much all the windows are covered. So, and in any case, this shed is behind a cabin.
And it's on a lower level.
And on a lower level, so it doesn't get any direct sunlight. So that keeps the temperature down quite nicely. And of course, with the insulated roof and walls, even when it gets a bit of sunlight, it doesn't get too hot in here the way the loft does.
Especially with the door open.
And the way
the door
he's
in the morning.
going to find his cabin does, because it's all glass. But
yeah, but the solar panels kind of shield the roof, and I put camo netting on the glass, so
yeah,
that should keep that alright.
it's going to change the load though over here.
What did we use to simulate ballast on the new viaduct?
Same old Javis ballast mat as we always.
Javis ballast mat. Random offcuts of it on the floor, just ballast mat. You can use roofing felt as well. If you have a massive layout to do, it's probably cheaper to just buy a massive roll of roofing felt.
We did have the roll of roofing
It's
felt.
over there.
So,
hold on, I'll use this camera.
yeah. Now this is quite hard to get hold of sometimes, but it's grey roofing felt, and it's actually far superior to the Javis ballast mat because it doesn't shed dust everywhere. The ballast mat eventually goes bald on the Javis. Of course, the trouble is you can only buy meters and meters and meters of it at 25 quid. Now the reality is, the Javis ballast mat, we're going to end up spending that anyway to buy, but it's what I started with, so it's what we've continued with. But in reality, it would have been cheaper to buy a roll of roofing felt. The other big advantage of roofing felt is that the track screws screw in much better because they bite in the roofing felt. So if I was going to do this again and I was building a bigger layout, I'd go and buy a roll of grey roofing felt. But there you go. Last question. Interesting considering the conversation we had this afternoon.
Would we ever sell laser cut building and bridge kits? What was the conversation we had this afternoon?
Have a good shed on these.
Yeah, probably. We just need to get around to designing something.
Well, I need a good shed for the top layout, and I'm going to get Doug to laser cut it for me. And if it works, then we'll sell that probably.
Yeah, on the same way we sell our 3D printed kits, which is on our website if we do it.
But one of the reasons is there's so many people doing it. We're a little reluctant, so it will be, if I need something, then it'll be a byproduct of that.
We were one of the first, if not the first, to do mass 3D printing kits, but laser cutting, there's already so many people doing it.
Yeah. Oh, interesting. Ballast mat is unknown in the US. Yeah, I mean, obviously what you have got in the US though is things like Kato and I think Atlas, who make the pre-ballasted plastic track, which is what I mean, it's my favourite track is the Kato Uni track. And again, if I was building this again, I would probably have used Kato Uni track. The cost, you can actually get it second hand quite often, is offset for the fact it's very reliable and very quick and easy. But yeah, ballast mat's pretty unknown in the UK, even though there's two companies that make it, Javis and Gagemaster. I don't like the Gagemaster stuff, it looks like grey grass mat to me, but it's okay, I know people that have used it. There must be loads of people using ballast mat because it's sold in large quantities, but you don't often, most of the YouTube videos and exhibition layouts seem to use ballasting, which obviously we don't.
Someone trying to read the back of your t-shirt. Go over there. It's bigger. Go over there and turn around. No, not quite that far. Turn around. More. No, turn around more. No, other way. Face the door. No, face me. Yeah, there you go. And then walk backwards a little bit.
But isn't it in reverse?
No, that one's in forwards. That's the whole point.
Tell people what it says for what people...
It says, don't ask me, ask my son. He's a teenager, so knows everything. Unfortunately, I do not have my matching shirt on today. I just have
What does yours say?
Mine's just the boring one.
Yeah, but what did yours say?
Do you want to ask my dad or the person who knows what's actually going on?
We had them done when we used to exhibit. Which was... I'm hoping to do some more exhibiting probably next year. So I've got a very busy Army Cadet role, as some of you know, and it's incredibly busy at the moment with lots of things that are happening. That finishes in February, and after 24 years of doing that and having got to as high as I can, which is the highest you can get, the workload now is very high, and I'm thinking probably that in February I'll finish. I won't find another role. And one of the things I'd then like to do is use that time that's spare to do a few more exhibitions, to take a few more layouts to exhibitions, because I really enjoy doing that and meeting people. But that of course means, thanks Doug, you cut me out.
Soz.
That of course means making an exhibition layout, which at the moment I don't. I have my Cato one.
You still have?
Grey carpet tile underlay. Yes, I've seen that before. I'm going to look out for that, because yes, if it's grey and it works, then that's the stuff to use.
Even start back up.
Well, we need to put something quiet on.
Yeah, I know. Do we still? Do you know where that self-adhesive ballast?
Oh, it's
stuff
up in.
I got from
It's
China
up in
with?
the cab. It's up in my office, I think.
Somewhere I could easily
Must
find.
have- I don't know. You'd have to go and have a look.
Okay, because that's interesting.
Do you want to
stuff.
change the evening start? Change that because that black one was running.
Okay. Do you want, as in, like, completely swap, move the
Just
logo,
pull-
or just change the lane?
Just pull that and stop it and start the black one, because that's a bit quieter. The problem with ballasting track in the
Change
traditional
that distant point,
way for us
just whatever way it's not.
is that our layouts evolve. So this
I'm gonna see
circuit
if I can find that
at the
stuff.
top here, it wasn't on properly, has changed 4 times, and each time I get all the enthusiasm
I'm gonna show
for
some
it.
archaeology. To show how, that I always point out every time.
Well, yeah, so this is how our layouts evolved. So the bottom layer there is the original workbench put in here before we built a model railway. So we then built the model railway, which had to go at that height because of the shelves that were underneath it, although it turns out to be a perfect height. But it meant that when we wanted to extend the layout, no, you're in the wrong place.
You mean that?
We then had to build the middle layer there, on all bits of wood and everything. And then obviously when we wanted to do higher again, then we built that out of timber and foam board. And if you show under there, Doug, then that shows how that was extended, with all funny bits of cantilevered timber. And it's quite good under your head there, where we've got shelf brackets and things holding old funny bits of timber up. So this is how this has evolved. And I mean, the fiddle yard's on a layout that I built. The bizarre thing is it's all unbelievably level, because I literally spent 2 days with a spirit level, very carefully making sure that all of it was level, and remarkably it's worked. The Bluebell was a real shame. So we got into the Bluebell, first place we ever exhibited, thanks to, do you know, their name's just gone right out of my head. Dave and that's terrible. I can't remember her name. In the shop, and the shop ran them. When the shop and the commercial side had to think parting of ways, we lost all the contacts. So the last 2 times we were at Bluebell, not only did we exhibit, we ran a sub-exhibit for Bluebell, but somehow the new people doing it weren't aware of it, so we don't get invited. So we went from really being almost a fairly big part of the show. We used to have the whole gazebo up on the lawn. We've gone to not getting invited. It's just the way the world moves, I guess. Yeah, it's an evening star. Yeah. I would like to go back to Bluebell, but I don't know what their criteria will be. and I don't have any contacts. So next year, when I'm hopefully going to exhibit again, we will try and approach. We used to do the New Haven Model Railway Club. Unfortunately, one year I had to let them down because I had an Army Cadet commitment suddenly come up, and I think we hacked them off, so we didn't get invited again. But we'll see next year. We've done Bognor. We were invited to more than we could attend because at the time Doug was in the Scouts, I'm in the Army Cadets. We try and have a family life as well. So yeah, very difficult. Yeah, Evening Star was one of the first, I think it's the second, third loco we ever bought. It's not perfect, but it's a lovely little loco, and it's quite important to us. That's the Arrow 8 going around there. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Morris, is see what you can find that there probably is roofing felt in America, but it's called something different. So I know they have it in Australia, but it's not called roofing felt. If one of our Australian people is watching, perhaps they can tell us what it's called. It's a bit like I think the Americans call what we call polyfill a speckle or something. So it's worth looking, Morris. It's a material that's used. It's a sort of tarmacadon stuffed with grit material that's used to roof sheds. I'll be very surprised if it isn't available in America, but it will be called something else, I'm sure. The green loco is a bit of the Evening Star, so I bought that for Doug when he was 9 as a Christmas present. Bought it second hand from Roxy Models, and I tested it and I made a bit of video just to see what it looked like.
Disconnected.
Oh, can you still see us?
Hold on. No, they can see us there, but this one's
All right.
disconnected.
But I didn't realise, and Doug saw it, so he knew what he was going to get for Christmas. Do you remember that?
Back when I was a child and I didn't have my own tablet, so I used to use yours for YouTube.
Well, shingles, I think, are roofing tiles, which is slightly different.
There we go.
But you might get roofing felt shingles, which we can get in the UK. So it might be worth looking for. No, we're never going to do DCC. It's just not... It doesn't do anything we need it to do. We only want to run one train at a time on any of the circuits. So we don't see the need for DCC. I'm not bothered about sound, and I'm not... Doug can put lights in without DCC. And it is always more expensive. There is no two ways about that. A DCC loco is more expensive, and the DCC controllers are twice... You can change that if you like, Doug, if it's not going over there well.
That's only the first time.
Are twice what our controllers are. So until DCC becomes absolutely as cheap as DC and as quick and easy to use, I haven't got to program it, the answer's no. And I still think that there's an awful lot of DC going on out there. So somebody says it might be called tar paper, Morris. So that might be worth looking for. It's not worth us Googling it because I know tar paper means something different in the UK. But if you're still there, Morris, get your Google out and see what tar paper is. The problem is in the UK is it's often black or green, and the grey is much harder to find. Is the original loop's not connected, and I don't want to connect it. Lots of people ask me if
We
I
did
want
try.
to. We did try. It complicates
Short-circuited the hell out
it
of
complicates the wiring, and there's no operational benefit. Doesn't allow me to run an extra train, so I'm quite happy having separate loops. Hello to the Goathland station, one of our favourite stations up on the North York Moors. Underlayment, it might be called, Morris. Good night, Madison Steam Railway. So, underlayment. When you find out, Morris, let us know, and we'll put it on one of our videos. You need to talk for a little while. My voice is going.
Oh, I'm up to talk.
How many people are we up to?
55.
Oh, jolly good. Jolly good. How many have we had in total?
Yeah,
Yeah, put something different on it. Doug is going to have to change his fiddle yard.
Your locos.
No, they're perfect locos. They're new locos. You need to change your track work.
There's nothing wrong with my track work.
My bogeyed steam locos are complaining about Doug's track work,
There's nothing wrong with my track work.
which, as I like running them, he's going to have to resolve.
No, it's because at the moment this is on like 2 bits of wood, so it
Ah, it's because it's our bits of wood. So Doug says, "Tell you what, then,
Neat.
put that on the top one. See if it runs." Yeah.
Shoot.
Eh?
Shoot track.
Yeah, it might do. different one.
With those coaches?
No, with what's on there.
Okay.
Put something different behind the coach. Just get a nice diesel out. Pick a diesel, we've got loads.
Loads is an understatement.
Right, roof underlayment comes in rolls and is available at Home Depot. That's my Americanism. We'd say depot in England.
Or Wix.
And Lowe's. It's an American company.
Yeah, I know.
Probably Walmart, just to show my limited American knowledge.
You got Target, Walmart, Lowe's.
Oh, you know Lowe's, do you? Okay.
Home Depot. Something else.
Depot.
I don't know. Yeah, I know.
And
That's how they say
I think correctly in America, what we call a station in America is called a depot. Is that correct? Which kind of makes sense actually, because I'm not quite sure what station, why we call it a station. Because
it's where you get your stationery.
yeah, it means something different. But that's the wonder of the English language.
Well, no, because stationary means you're stopped, doesn't it?
On the other hand,
So
we call train drivers, and you call them engineers.
they're not an engineer.
And they're not an engineer, they're a train driver. Yeah, it's going to cause trouble now, isn't it? I was reading American books initially thinking, engineer, where's the driver? It means something, again, different in the UK.
Nothing's worse than turbine.
Don't start. Two countries divided by a common language. Oh, is that going round there?
Yeah,
Have you-
well,
has
that's
it gone-
first there. So that's
Yeah,
not...
has it gone round the juice yet?
No.
Okay, wants a little bit more juice. So if we've done nothing else tonight, we may have helped Morris find out what underlay's called. Yep, thank you Kelly Ash for trains, and thank you for commenting, which you do a lot on the videos, much appreciated.
Well, yeah, I was going to run something else on the bottom.
Yeah, Doug's going to go and run something different on the bottom. You've got two things you can run, because you can take the Evening Star off and run something different on there. Quite a nice shot at the station there. I do like that station. Considering it evolved, how are we getting on with the 3D scanner, Doug?
Right, so need to do a follow-up email on that. But so our 3D scanner is really great for scanning people. Amazing. Oh, the statue of you is indoors.
Yeah.
Yeah. So at some point over the summer, we are going to do a whole day of just scanning ourselves and make a load of various figures. But obviously, this scanner can't yet not copyright locomotives by scanning other people's. However, we were in contact with a company, completely forgotten the name, sorry, but we're going to be trying to sort out another scanner in the summer that will be able to definitely not directly scan other people's locos and make duplicates. So we'll see.
Right. If you can only get black roofing felt, Morris, dry brush it with grey paint. I have done that and it works quite well. Practice an offcut. So just ordinary grey emulsion will do. Decorating paint, don't know what you call it in America. Dry brush it, do it over the top of the black, and that'll give you a really good two-tone finish, which will look quite nice. I have done that actually in the UK. Recommendations for making the slope part of the platform. Where's your camera, Doug?
Okay.
So how do I know what I'm seeing?
If you double tap the screen, I think you double tap the screen.
Ah.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that. So just cardboard. So two cardboard triangles cut to the angle you want. Remembering to make them the same height as your side pieces, so that when you put the cardboard on the top. So I usually use wood for platforms where I can, because it's quick and easy. And I have loads of offcuts lying around. Don't buy it to do it. We get it out of skips and from the tip shop and things like that. But the ends are easier to make out of cardboard. See if we can just, while I'm over here, yay! You can see the lights come on. Oh, that's one of my favourites. My Lima Class 47 in two-tone green, yellow ends and red buffer beams. It's very smart. Let's try and put the camera where that shows. And while we're at it, Class 08 in green. I got that because I was at work actually at Bluebell one day when I used to visit, and they have an immaculate green Class 08 which does shunting. It probably does more now, but in those days Bluebell was still in their anti-diesel phase. Oh, Doug.
Yeah.
We need some glue. My little white spiky bits come off there.
I don't lose it.
Little white spiky bit needs to go on there, so I'll glue that in a minute.
The reason they're called engineers is because they often have to do a lot more of the maintenance than our drivers, but may be wrong.
I'm going to just put that there. find the glue and fix my signal box.
I was interested in having a scan of me. Spoke to you both at the Something Model Hours show. Yeah, well, we could probably arrange scanning you. It takes about, what? How long did it take to scan you? Like half an hour?
Yeah, it's quite long-winded.
So yeah, you've got to be able to stand in the exact pose you want for half an hour. So get comfy. But yeah, it's definitely possible. If you email us, we can see what we can sort out. We have a ginormous, like 1 foot tall 3D print of my dad, which looks really cool. I did an O gauge one, which you could tell it was him. I did an OO one, which worked pretty well, even considering it was FDM. But if I resin printed it, it'd probably look even better. So you can definitely do it.
Well, don't forget to explain the plan for scanning people.
This glorious guy over here. Yeah, 3D printed this while my dad was away and hid him on the layout, because why the hell not? The camera doesn't really show it, but the thing looks really good, and that was printed with a standard FDM printer. So anyone that says you can't get detail with an FDM printer and you must use resin just doesn't know how to use an FDM printer properly.
So we have an idea for scanning people as well, which is in the summer to get me and
That's what I said.
Doug's mum and Adam in his military gear and scan us so that we can do it. Did you say that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't hear you say that. Okay.
And have a whole scanning day.
Yes, I'm afraid there's a huge difference in vocabulary between UK and America. We have not just railways, all sorts of things we have completely different words for. So in America they say airplane and we say aeroplane or aircraft. And we have all sorts of very different languages and terms for all sorts of words. And different spellings, of course.
Yeah, so you can absolutely scan a person and then 3D print it in OO. We've done it. If you resin printed it, it would look really good. If you FDM printed it, as I showed, you could still make it look really good. As soon as you get as tiny as OO, it's whether you could really recognize it was you. Like, I printed my dad in OO. I knew that it was my dad, but I could still tell that it was my dad by looking at it.
Yeah, I mean...
But I think that was more because I knew it was you. I could tell that it was you.
It's like... You knocked it. When you see... I can't find it. We used to have a Michael Portillo figure.
Oh, yeah.
You know it's Michael Portillo because he's got pink trousers and a yellow jacket. I was looking at the photos of the Dad's Army figures somebody's made. Yeah, there's a big fat bloke in a British military uniform. That's Captain Mannering. You know, in Double O, you're not going to get the facial
the company that we bought it off though did have O and G gauge versions where you could clearly see that it was him. But yeah, OO, it's more kind of the colours and the way it looks and is shaped than sort of facial detail.
Are we going to buy a laser cutting printer if you don't already own one?
Are we going to buy a what?
A laser cut printer.
Oh, we have a laser cutter.
We have several.
We have two.
We have two.
We have another one coming,
another
which
one
you
on the
will
way.
love this time. It's £150. Tiny little thing, but it would be perfect for laser cutting for model railways, including making things like that bridge.
Yeah.
Really well.
So we specifically, they wanted to send us a state-of-the-art one. It's very nice. Companies approach us and it's not working.
It's just, no, it's a dead spot there. It's because that track's
Oh,
not been
where's
down.
the track clean?
No, it's because the track's
Yeah,
not
but if you
pinned
clean
down
it,
yet.
it'll help.
No, it's nothing to do with cleaning. It's because it's loose track like that.
Oh, well,
It's not
okay.
pinned
Well,
or
you can
sorted
pin that
yet.
one down.
I know. I'll
Pin
work
that
on it
one
after the video.
We're very fortunate and companies insist on, because we make videos, sending us tech to review, which is why we review the tech, because we're not going to turn down the opportunity to have some interesting tech. This particular company wanted to send us a high-end one, and we said, no, please send us your cheap basic one, because that's who we are and what we do. Now, it might be in the future that we might occasionally review some dearer stuff, but that's because people have very kindly sent it to us. And at the end of the day, this technology will come down in price, so there'll be more sort of tech. Laser cutters are interesting as we find more uses for them. 3D printing now, everybody knows you can do so much on railways with it. But I think laser cutters might come into their own as well. We might need to run some price on that.
It's just a dead bit of track.
Our emails on our website.
I will throw it in here. Email going in the chat.
Kids
When I
and
can
tech,
spell
it's
it.
terrible, isn't it?
Why doesn't your phone autofill it? It's so annoying.
We're getting used to. I'm getting used to Zoom. It still has lots of problems.
There is our email in chat.
Right, let's see what the other question is.
Will you call the shed layout Ratton Junction? Close.
Close. It's Green Hill Junction. Because the first layout we ever built was Green Hill Hall, so this will be Green Hill Junction.
John Slade, are you referring to your previous question of is it possible to scan a person and then 3D print? Well, the joy of scanning is that there's zero designing involved. You just scan. So you don't need to learn that. But in terms of 3D printing, you still have to understand 3D printing software, which this is the thing with 3D printing is once you design it or you get a design off the internet, that's great. You've done step one of a many-step process. You still have to slice it, which is where you tell all the printer all of its various settings, which takes a while to learn. There's default profiles within the software which you can use, and they do work really well, but you can get better, you can get faster. You've got to learn it, but the best way of learning it is to do it. Just start, practice. Reload yourself. £150. What one are you buying? It's an atom stack. I know that much.
Most laser cutters will cut timber if it's not too thick. The one we're using at the moment will go up to about 12 mil.
No, the one we have at the moment will do 30 millimeters.
Oh yeah,
which
we did these supports.
A Creality Falcon 2, which is a 22 watt laser cutter. The one we reviewed previously was the Audio Laser Master 3. That could do about 15 millimeters of wood. The cheap little one we have coming, I do not know. No, that's not the one.
No.
I'm trying to find it. I don't remember what it was called. I just remember it was on the website.
Yeah, hi Morris. Yeah, there's a number of companies in the UK which are scanning people at shows and then charging them about 10 quid a figure. But I guess they've got to pay for their kit somehow.
Yeah. Will we be producing more controller cases? Yes, so our website is back open for the summer while I am home. For the summer only, probably, so if you are interested, buy now.
Got about 4 boxes going out today. 016.5, unfortunately, no. I'm not sure I'll get anywhere with that, again, because of room. I have got a really wonderful Mahano 262 loco that I was going to use the chassis to do a 016.5 tank loco 3D printed, but I think that will be in some years' time.
The £150 laser cutter is actually £131, and it's the Atom Stack P7 M40. Can't give you an opinion on it yet because we haven't messed with it, but for £130, I am. It can't be too bad.
Yeah, so advice on making layouts look more realistic is don't. Just make them as realistic as you like. You know, people have heard me say before about who was the guy that used to do the stuff with no scenery at all. Can't remember. It's gone straight. Barry Davis on YouTube. He has huge fun running trains in his shed with just some buildings plonked down. You know, grass mats quicker and easier than scatter. Scatter is quicker and easier and cheaper than static grass. Grey cardboard and things like that for roads. You make it as realistic or as unrealistic as you like. People know that I'm a big fan of M down in Dorset Way, a guy whose teenage daughter's got a pink and purple layout, which I think is wonderful. The hills are purple and the fields are rainbow. You know, so just do what you're happy with. Our layouts are not desperately realistic. They're cheap trees from China plunked down largely on static grass with ballast mat. You know, but somehow it all looks fine. Yeah, don't get too wrapped around the axle about it. Yeah, we do stop the trains at the station when we're running to a timetable, particularly when we're shunting, but when we're just running trains, no. We just run trains.
No, the poor people never get to leave.
No. It's very like the American layouts that you see, where they have these huge layouts in their basements, and often there's not a station on them. They're just running trains through the scenery.
There you go. I'll let the people leave for a change.
Yeah, they're getting off. Mind you, you've stopped. You need to pull it forward a bit because you need the loco forward of the
But I
platform.
wanted the loco to still be in the shop.
Well, yeah, poor people can't get off.
There you go. They can get out.
45 quid to scan you and £4.50 for the figure.
Whoa!
Well, given how much a scanner costs, that's making an awful lot
Yeah.
of money.
Because the ferret scan is, what is that, £200? The one that we have?
Something like that. So by the time they've
And
done about
3D printed.
4 people, they make
Yeah.
their money. It's
I
not
suppose-
for me to comment, but that seems I wouldn't pay that for a model of me.
For one figure. Well, I don't know. Do you get to keep the STL, the digital file of
I bet you
yourself?
don't.
Or is that it? Like, you know,
If you get to
done?
keep it, then I guess that's not so bad
Because
because
then you could make as many
hundreds of
more as
you.
you wanted.
That'd be an interesting layout with hundreds of just you on it, wouldn't it? How many people are we up to? 49. No? Messages 49. How many people have we had?
49 people currently.
Yeah. How many people have we had in all?
352.
Oh, that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Our chat rate is 2 a minute.
That's good.
Didn't bother checking after you saw the price.
Yeah,
Yeah, fair
no,
enough.
I wouldn't bother either. That seems extortionate to me, but I wouldn't want to criticise somebody else's business model. So are you going to do a diode
Right.
matrix video?
I will say, diode matrix sounds really fancy and complicated, but it's actually so easy. I mean, it's genuinely easy. That's not just coming from an electronics engineer easy. It's genuinely easy. You literally, it really is, right? You just have a diode, okay? You don't even need to know what a diode does. You just have a diode, which it's one of these guys. And literally, you just put one of these at the end of every wire coming from your point. Every time it touches a switch, you just put one of these in between every wire and every switch. And then it just blocks out all the stray voltages and
You are
currents
going to
from
have to
doing
do a
bad
wiring
things.
diagram.
I'm going to have to do a wiring diagram. But the reason I don't want to is it looks hideous.
No, a schematic one.
Yes, I know.
Yes. No, not what ours actually looks like.
Ours only looks hideous because it's like 5 lanes and it's complicated, messy points rather than just being a nice, like, coming into itself.
So that's gone fine over all the dodgy points and track work. It's your track work that's the problem in the fiddly yard.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Well, I know that this is really bumpy.
Oh, so it is your fault. That's
No,
fine.
that's
Thank
not
you.
what I meant.
I knew he'd admit it.
He had himself scanned at Wally, but you don't get the file. That's a shame. Because then you could get the
Yeah,
file.
then that wouldn't be so bad. Okay, I suppose it depends how much you want to picture a model of you on your layout.
I mean, it is quite satisfying to see yourself on your layout.
Yeah, laser cut printing is going to become quite useful, I think. As I say, it completely changed. You know, this. I know people are doing buildings with it. I don't think some of them are doing buildings terribly well, but they are doing buildings with it.
What's a compartment, Coach? What's the difference?
Just it means it has different sections in it.
I don't know.
It wouldn't be any different.
Do
You
the
just,
same, follow the same video
yeah,
and
just
see
follow
how
the
it
same
looks?
video and cut holes in the dividing walls. Personally,
Yeah, or maybe for that one, you might want to do the thing I mentioned where instead of using diodes, you actually work out how to get the roof off and put LED strip along the whole roof, and then it will light everywhere.
you're going to film. If we move the, can we film it coming around this way at the top?
Yeah. You know, if I put it like over here, you'll probably get all 3. Wouldn't you?
Yeah, that doesn't look too bad. You get 2 of them, 3 of them. Yeah, leave it there. That's an unusual angle because I've never seen it that way either.
No. Yeah, you'll get all 3
Yeah, you get
just.
all 3 trains. Look at that. That's playing it out. That's working really well. Hundreds of pink hues. Yes, amazing. Yeah. Peaks and Deltics. I don't like peaks and I like Deltics. There you go. Peaks 44, 45 and 46, named because the first locos were named after the mountain ranges.
Do we have any of them? Ah! That's
It-
impressive.
It looks
I've
like
never seen that one before.
a large 37 with very complex bogies. I actually have tried to get 40s. I've had 2. and I find them very problematic runners because of the complex multi-part bogies of the real loco. I do like 40s. I might eventually get one, but I've got to try and find one that's going to really run much better over points and things. I'm more of a 37 fan, if I'm honest. But yeah, I am a big fan of Deltics. Low pitch junction, I quite like that. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, well, I hope you get on with the loft all right. Strip LEDs. Strip LEDs, what we've got.
No, so I did mine with diodes. Strip
Right.
LED is that white band here.
Oh, okay.
It's broken already. But
Yeah, that might work.
So that's why I was saying the reason I didn't use strip LEDs is because on my coaches it's hard. Well, on the
Is it
Hornby
doing
ones
that?
it's fine. On my Lima coaches, it's hard to get the roofs separated from the body where it's easy to pop the ends off. On the Hornby ones, the roofs pop off separately, so you could pop the roof off, put the LED strip on the roof, put the roof back on, and then you'll have lighting the whole way through.
Can I move that a minute when you're done? Because I just want to show the bridges, because I'm quite pleased with the bridges.
Ta-da! You can do it.
So I was quite pleased with those bridges. They're our 3D printed, and I've added posts onto them. Just going to hold it there while. Oh, there we go. 47. And the LMS going around there. And that sums up our railways quite well, because those two would never have been together in real life. No, I've got the. Oh wait, that's not a bad little view either, but I'm not going to stand here and hold it.
That's a shame.
Yeah, where are you going to put that next then, bud?
You said you wanted to show the bridges. There's more bridges than that.
Well, there's a bridge there, and there's a tunnel mouth there. I've got to do coping stones and everything. Playing around with the army depot, that's going to come along quite well.
High-speed train coming through.
And some fives. Going to derail that in a minute.
Nah, it's fine. Don't do that. That will not work.
It'll go under it.
Oh, that's why I trust that. More importantly, my phone is going to go on the floor.
Oh, I just thought it was a really good shot.
No, the phone will not go under that. Put it there. No, the tripod legs on the rail.
I'll have to get somewhere else. You need to slow it down, Dagger. It's just going to derail.
No, this is going. I've had it running like that for hours. It's designed to do that. It's a heavy ST.
Yeah, it's making the noise very difficult though. Yeah, I haven't tried a Youth 40. I did buy one once from a guy who sold me a pile of crap, who I fell out with on eBay. No, I've never done the CD drive with the Lima because I don't have any trouble with the original motors.
Or CD drive.
Well, people change the pancake motors for a CD player drive. I know it's relatively simple, but I find servicing them and drop of oil on the bearings, they seem to work really well. So I've never felt the need, to be honest. Where's Budget the Bear?
Oh, he's in my room.
Off the chop.
Oh, am I really? What else were we going to get from the house? We were going to get something
Sticky.
earlier. No,
Sticky.
you, the Model U.
All right. Second radius is what? Sorry, well the original bit is first radius. The high speed part is all second and third radius. The hill, so the top part that let's do this again so you can see. So this is first radius. Wrong way around. That's first radius. That is less than first radius. That's Youth 26 inch, so it's 3 inches smaller than first radius. That is first radius. And then the big loop at the bottom is all third and fourth radius. It was originally second radius, but when Doug redid it while I was away, he changed it to third and fourth. Just going to try and move this a second. Not very easy to do. Oh, there we go. That'll give you a nice view when that comes round. Yes, I still have my £7 pannier. Still smokes. I've still got to get it fixed. We don't do any of the big shows. I suppose because we're alternative, we don't believe in sort of DCC, static grass, and spending 20 years and £20,000 to make a layout. I've got very little interest in the big shows because that's largely what they're about. They're not about the hobbyist and the beginner and the family. But, you know, some of the smaller local shows I'll have a look at.
Hi, Budget the Bear's here.
Oh, there we go. You asked for him and there he is, Budget the Bear. Say hello, Budget. Whee!
How can we put him where he's visible?
Did you get? Oh, you got me as well. A French who begged me to pay. Yes, yeah, quite. Yeah, eBay's just very strange at the moment. So original buildings from the loft layout. I don't remember, I can't remember what, but well, yeah. I mean, all the buildings in that layout, the loop in here, all came from the shed layout. In fact, so yeah, they do. And of course, there's the buildings from Rosens Hill and Green Hill Hall, and there are the buildings from my father's layout from the early 1960s. So there's quite a bit of history, and there's also buildings from John, who was my wife's friend's dad, who passed away a few years ago. Buildings from his layout in here as well. So there's quite a bit of history actually going back nearly 60 years scattered around the buildings. Doug insists on showing. So that's me. That's a 12-inch high me. It's like an action man. He's painted it silver because while we were away, he did it as a trophy for 8 years of service to Budget Model Railways. So that's my long service award from my son. Yeah. But actually, if you knew me and it wasn't glittery and looked a bit Elton John, it's a really good portrayal of me and the way I stand. I did that pose because I can hold that pose stood at ease with my military background for a very long time without moving, which is why we did it. Sat in his university room. There you go. No, I never watched the Great Model Railway Challenge for the same reason that I dislike all these programmes, because they're about what kind of wacky characters can we get rather than necessarily about what's the best thing. And interestingly, I read a magazine article by a team who said they were stopped for great long periods while they filmed the stand next to them. So they said in the end it was very contrived because they didn't build it in the whatever hours it was they were given. It took a lot longer because every so often you'd get told to stop for half an hour while they filled the stand next to you. And there's always a degree of sometimes how silly can we be and make good TV. We did look into it, but at the time they wouldn't allow children, and then when they made a children's one they wouldn't allow adults, and me and Doug work as a team, so we've always fallen out of the remit of getting on there. So I've been in the Army Cadet Force 24 years. I was an air cadet when I was a kid for 7 years. I spent a very short time as an adult in the Air Cadets, and then about 20 years later I joined the Army Cadet Force. And I've gone all the way from newbie to colonel, and I finish, as I say, in February. So, yep, corrugated crate, insert landscape, yep, whatever you can find, bits of packaging foam, whatever works. That's a good angle, that, Doug.
I don't know, you can't really see anything apart from the top one.
Well, move it. You can see the military depot with the Saracens and the Saladin. Feel free to change it.
I shall. I don't know what to.
Oh, you were on the first challenge. Well, there you go. I've upset you now then. You'll know more about it than I will. But that, you know, as I say, I know it can't be helped, but there's a degree of contrivance in all those programs. Corrugated curry, why not? Be interested to know what your views were of the challenge, to be fair.
That shows
You'll know more about it than me, so it'd be interesting to know what your take on it was. I know the two magazine articles I read said it was very demanding, so be interested to know what you thought of it. How far did you get in it? Be an interesting one. Yeah, well, I like all railways. That's my problem. I've gone from 9 years ago knowing absolutely nothing, well, 10 years ago, knowing absolutely nothing about railways and having no interest in them, to being quite fascinated by them. And I've got books on just about every kind of bizarre railway you can think of, narrow gauge and European and Irish and African and all sorts of things. I just really got taken with it, to be honest. I got a fabulous one on a cotton railway in East Africa, which was just fascinating. Doug wants to show you this.
Do you want to talk about the original first, or just this one?
Well, you know that we did a very contentious video where we dipped a loco in oil and WD-40 and fluff, and it still rang. What we never got around to showing was the update, which was we put it in a jar of oil, engine oil, for a year.
Cheap, nasty
engine oil, because we were told that it would dissolve all the plastic. Yeah, it didn't. It didn't. In fact, the loco ran fabulously, and still does. We've never done an update, which we really must get round to, because it is quite funny. Because we were assured by thousands of people that cheap oil would melt the plastic, and it doesn't.
We left it in there for, I think in the end it was like 2 years, because we did it before COVID. Then COVID happened. We completely forgot about it in the back of the shed, and it just sat there for 2 years. And then we're like, oh, there it is. Took it out, ran fine. But yeah, I had an 060 chassis that was running really crap, and I was like, nah, what's the worst that could happen? So I've shoved it in the same drawer. I'm not going to go to the extent of a year. I'm just going to leave it overnight and see how much better it runs. We've proved that it won't break it, so I'm not worried. I'm just interested to see whether it'll make it run any smoother.
Hollow core doors are brilliant. I've built quite a few layouts on hollow core doors. I'm also using a lot of these now, which are the IKEA and other people's cantilever shelves that are hollow, and they're fantastic. They're a really good way actually of making baseboards, although I always either get mine from when we found them in skips, to be honest. I've never bought one. And all my hollow shelves, the IKEA sort of shelves, come from the tip shop, our local tip shop. Draylon, I'm not sure what Draylon is. Modern motors, yeah, you can get them on eBay, but I don't know how many are a straight fit into the Triang and Hornby models. If you can 3D print mountings, then they will be quite good, which, you know, Doug's done a few times. He's got one here he can show you.
Have we ever shown this?
No.
So we were having a brief moment once upon a time about whether we could do not just 3D printed bodies, but whether we could do an entire loco, complete with chassis. So we found these, which are Coco chassis from China. A bogey chassis, no motor, but a drive shaft with pickups, all-wheel pickup, 6-wheel pickup, 6-wheel drive. And we were looking, well, can we get a motor to fit on it? So in the end, we came up with this glorious contraption, which worked. The problem is the motor didn't spin fast enough because it's already geared down. So it goes incredibly slowly, but it runs really smoothly. So one day we will, yeah, I'll put it on the bottom loop because it works better.
Yeah.
One day we will try. No.
Oh, okay. Doug will show you it running.
Make it work properly, then yeah, commercially available. Doesn't have couplings on it. But
Yeah, you still got sort of couplings and all sorts of things. I mean, a big thank you really to all you guys who subscribe and watch the videos,
there you
because
go. This is its max speed right here. 100% power. That's
Yeah.
the issue with it. Runs incredibly well.
yeah, pulls well.
Yeah.
We're going to make a little shunter out of it at some point.
That's as fast as it goes.
But it's only because, yeah, we have advertising on our YouTube channel. And why do we do that? Because it means we can buy things like that bogey that we can play with, that we can buy things to have a go at, that I can make more layouts than I could afford to make if I was just making them for fun, so that we can do videos to show people how to do things. So a big thank you to everybody really who subscribes and watches the videos. I know the adverts are a pain in the arse, but they do enable us to do more with model railways than we would otherwise be able to do. And quite a lot of, probably about a dozen of the locos we've got have been bought specifically to do reviews on and to say to people we think this is a really good loco. And we couldn't do that if we weren't funded by YouTube. And that means you guys. So thank you very much. When are we going to keep going to, Doug?
I don't know.
A cup of tea would be good.
Gets tired.
Could be cheap. I occasionally have to remind Doug that I'm 40 years older than him. Beginning to show my age a little bit. So to be fair to Dad, about 5 or 6 years ago, I was a little bit quicker, a little bit more agile. Unfortunately, I'm beginning to get arthritis in my fingers as well, which is causing me a bit of a pain. So that's the thing. TT is fascinating because that's now available in retailers. Wasn't going to be. Any of us who've been involved in selling into retail, and I did it for 20 years, could have told Hornby that only selling direct to the public won't work. Traditional retailing works because a retailer buys multiple items. They buy 10 of something, okay? You only sell it at a cheaper price, but they sell 10 of something. And what happens is manufacturers say, well, we pay this much, and if we sell direct to the public, we can make this much money. Yes, you can, one item at a time. A retailer will bulk buy from you, and that's not surprising now that they're supplying retailers. Interestingly, Hornby are already doing TT bargain bundles. There's a story that somebody might tell me I'm wrong, but Hornby have got 21 million quid's worth of unsold stock, of which I imagine a large amount is TT. I'm a huge fan of TT. TT to me is the perfect scale. I've always thought that, the same as when I used to do wargaming, 15mm is the perfect scale, which is TT. So obviously I was extremely excited to see Hornby do it. I don't think the prices are extortionate compared to 00, but they're still too expensive because I wouldn't pay £20 for a 00 wagon, so I'm not going to pay £20 for a TT wagon. I would have done a TT shunting layout, but just the locos and rolling stock alone, and the track was going to cost me £300. So I had a little look at N, and through Kato Pocket Line, I can do all the small scale shunting I want for about 30% of that. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with TT. Hi Morris, yeah, ours in the UK come with Arnold couplers. I suspect in the US they come with knuckle couplers. They're really easy to change. I got one new for 26 quid because it had knuckle couplers, and it took Doug about 10 minutes to change them to Arnold couplers. Well, yeah, there isn't really any British HO. This is the problem. You know, what little is available is wrong. So all the Lima stuff isn't to scale. Not that it bothers me. I like it. I have it. I've got the 33 and the coaches and some of the wagons. It's not. It is cheap. It's okay. Yes, you could do it that way if you wanted, admittedly, but it's very limited in scope. And the trying stuff seems to be very expensive. But yeah, in theory, it's an option. It is an option. Yeah. I mean, the Kato wagon pack for the US market is fantastic value for money. It's about £10 a wagon for a brand new N-gauge wagon in the UK. You can get them in the UK for people that run knuckle couplers. Yeah, it's great. I'm not sure how to get the couplers. We happen to have some off an old loco, but I believe you can buy them. I seem to think Train Tracks in the UK had them, but I'm sure if you ask around it might be possible. Although it might be easier in the US if you can get them with the knuckle couplers, obviously.
Yep, so running around the top here is a 3D printed loco.
Courtesy of
Diesel Shunter, which was painted up by Model Minutes. Who also fitted directional lights into it. Looks pretty cool. There is a whole train that he did. He did a coach and a wagon for us as well. But they are up in the loft.
Yeah, fantastic for lights. The only thing that I'm not sure about TT is I saw a few reports that said the couplings weren't great for shunting. That might be interesting to know if anybody's had that and whether they've got any feedback on that. But for me, it's just too expensive. The locos are £100 each, even with the, and that's only if you get the discount. The wagons are 20 quid each. You need 6 wagons and a brake van, so that's 140, £240 to do a little shunting layout, when I can do it for 50 quid, 60 quid using Cato pocket line in N. But I can see TT, if they're very lucky, catching on. But I think, as Goatland have just said, the trouble is anybody with a large collection of 00 isn't going to switch to TT. They might dabble with it, but they would need, I'd need to sell my entire 00 collection, and the TT collection for me personally at the moment is not big enough. There's not enough buildings, there's not enough divergence. Yeah, I think the jury's out on TT. The real answer, of course, is that we should have bitten the bullet when we had the opportunity in the 1970s and done UKHO, because at that point we would have been the same as the rest of the world. That would have meant that other manufacturers would have produced UKHO to sell to the rest of the world, and instead of trying to sell 00 to largely the UK market with a spattering across America and Australia, you would have had the whole of Europe and the whole of America doing potentially UK railways. There would have been an economy of scale. More manufacturers would have got involved in it. So probably people like Pico and so on, because you look at the Pico range, and I mean P-I-K-O in Germany.
Pico.
They do Austrian, Czechoslovakian, Hungarian, Polish. They would have done a UK range, and that would have generated more. But anyway, it didn't happen, and it's not going to happen now.
There was a 3D Me, but I forgot to press save after doing the scan.
So we've got to do that again.
Very annoying.
Oh, you got your 90 running. That's quiet.
Yep.
You're not going anything on the top now.
There was. Yeah, that point was also dead.
It's not fixed down yet. Oh, we're up to 53 viewers. So the nice thing about doing a live stream is you can get to watch a little bit more of what's going on. It's quite good with a little camera, Doug Scott, because that gives us some different viewpoints. OO's great where you got the room, like in the shed. All our stuff was bought up to about 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before all the second-hand prices, at a much cheaper price. If I was starting new again, I'd do Cato Unitrack, Cato Pocket Line, Cato Trams, some of their big EMUs, which are really cheap. I've just bought in the sale from Train Tracks UK a 4-car EMU for £45. 4-car smooth running immaculate EMU for £45. I'm currently looking at eBay, and you'd pay that for a 30-year-old Lima 2 car in 00 of dubious running quality. We are going to get back to the 70s because I'm a big fan of BR Blue, a little bit of nostalgia for me, so I have a massive amount of BR Blue, and one of the first running sessions we're going to do is BR Blue in the 70s. Yeah, mainline locos are great if you don't mind the noise. Simple as. They're lovely runners, but we were only having that conversation today, weren't we?
Try dunking one in oil.
Yeah, they're phenomenally noisy. I suppose the only other advantage of TT is it's accurately correct, because obviously 00 isn't. The track's 3mm too narrow. It doesn't bother me or anybody else as far as I can tell. I do find it funny when the silly old boring gits are whinging about the accuracy of things running locos with the wheels 3mm too narrow, which is after all a scale foot down near. but I think 00 gauge is going to be difficult to oust, in all honesty. There's just too much second-hand 00 floating around, I suspect. But, you know, the whole of the UK hobby is driven by this very small minority of largely older modelers with very deep pockets. They might still manage to, you know, make TT happen. I think I need a cup of tea.
Yeah, I can sort that out. I've just got one position idea for the camera. I'm going to try taking it out of the mount.
The floor's not great.
Sorry, yeah, not the floor. I'm going to take it out of its mount.
You need to get the lights on your fiddle yard working.
Yeah, I know. Is that like at all presentable? It's a bit of a foot with it.
What I would say, Carl, is I agree with you. Accuryscale, it is not expensive at current prices. So I think it's about 137 quid for a 37, but you are talking about a 37 with all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, directional lighting. You know, that's 60, 70, 80 quid less than the Hornby model. So I would agree with you, although they're not budget, they might just force some of the big manufacturers to look again. Because if a small manufacturer can do it, why can't one of the major ones? So I agree, that's a really good point. Reasonably cheap, good running loco.
Might be worth contacting Accuryscale.
Yeah. You know, it's tricky now because no, there isn't. No, there isn't. You know, you've got to have to spend 70, 80, 90 pounds. The Hornby 060, the one I had that I got recently, the green one, you know, I don't know if you can see that, R339. If you can put up with the slightly odd colour scheme, it's actually quite a nice running loco. It's not great over points, really slow, but it's going to cost you 60 quid. It's quite a nice loco. The real answer is that Hornby need to do the 35, the 33, the 31, the old Lima ones from the budget, the old railroad range at about 50 or 60 pound, and then that would be a superb loco. Pico, Pico, do it. They do a German Bobo, all-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, directional lights for 60 pound brand new. So it can be done. Future model railways, I think it'd be a bit dystopian. It's clear we're heading down a throw as much money as you can at it route, unfortunately. That's a great view, Doug.
Yeah.
That's a great view. Can you see the trains coming through?
Yeah, I took it out of the mount and just put it there.
But second-hand wise, you know, most of the Bobo diesels, so if you can get hold of any of the old Lima diesels, and they're still relatively cheap, they're usually really good runners. Steam locos is a bit harder because, as we're finding, as soon as you go into the bogeyed steam locos, you start hitting problems with points and running to some degree. But the 060s are good. I mean, the Hornby 040s are an okay loco if you don't want to shunt at really slow speeds. For anything else, I mean, that little black one, what is the little black one?
The one you just got?
Yeah. No, that one. So that one is currently about 40 quid. You take the top off and you add a load of weight and it runs exceptionally well, and it'll even shunt. And they're available for about 40 quid. So, you know, some of the new 040s are pretty good, you know, to some degree. Well, you see, the tooling's an interesting one because these companies will tell you they haven't. But Hornby had the 33 in the range until 4 or 5 years ago, so I can't believe they haven't still got the moulds. Airfix did this years ago. They said they couldn't release quite a lot of the old 1970s models because the moulds no longer existed, the tooling's no longer existed. And then all of a sudden, they released them. Strange that, because they weren't supposed to be available. So, who knows? Who knows? But I suspect they've got the toolings for one of them. Certainly they did the Deltic a few years ago. The problem is that when they release them, they insist on putting TSS, is it? Or TTS sound into it. They insist on making them with you know, ready so that you've got all the DCC wiring. they insist on doing all this technology, which just bumps it up 50, 60 quid more than it needs to be. And what most people want is just a relatively simple DC diesel loco, 50 or 60 quid. Yeah, Pico do. I've had them, the German ones. They make a perfectly good 040 for 30 quid. Hornby wants 60. They make an 040 tender loco for 40. Hornby wants 60. They make a superb Bobo. So you can't really see it, but that's a German Bobo locomotive. I'll get it right in a minute. All-wheel drive, all-wheel pickup, directional lighting, weighs up like a house brick, runs beautifully, £60 brand new. That's what we need somebody to do in the UK to sort of get that part of the market going. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, actually, you did very well to get 80, but that's the kind of money some people are paying. That's one of the reasons we're selling some of our stuff off, is because we bought them 4 or 5 years ago at 20 quid and they're now worth 40. And that will enable us to reduce our huge loco holdings. But it is just bonkers at the moment. But you see, at the moment, there is no alternative if you want a Class 47. I think the new ones are 180, £200. At which point, £80 for a second-hand one doesn't sound like a lot of money. It's a lot of money to us, because a few years ago we were paying 40 quid for them. The 47 that Doug's running around now was only about 2 years ago, and I paid 40 quid for it. Yeah, I mean, I'd buy Lima diesels all day long, but I personally wouldn't pay 80 quid for
I
them.
prefer Lima stuff for home.
That's off, Doug.
It reroutes itself on that point.
Yeah, then it wants realigning.
Compared, the Lima diesels are much easier to put lights in than the Hornby ones, because they already have lenses where the lights would be. So you just pop the lenses out and push LEDs in. Whereas the Hornby bodies, you've got to drill holes in them.
Yeah, it's a shame that Lima as such went with everything they were doing for the UK diesel market, at least. I'm never doing a loco roster video, because that would mean admitting that I've got a problem. You know,
addiction.
The first, thing to curing any addiction is admitting you've got a problem, and I'm not there yet. I'm not able to admit that I've got an addiction. I have too many locos. Is
Yeah, there's
all I'm
only
going to say.
10 filing cabinets down there.
That's all I'm going to say. You will eventually, because I'll say, look, this is my roster of BR Blue, or this is my roster of 040s. My real problem is Hornby 040s, because every time I can pick one up for 12 or 13 quid, I do. Yeah, I mean, the new prices, I think even Hornby know they overcooked it. Sure, of course prices went up, absolutely they did, but they went up 20%, they didn't go up 50%. And I think Hornby just had a huge resurgence in lockdown, assumed that there was this huge potential market, that people would pay any price, whacked a ridiculous sum of money. I mean, the 040s went up from 35 to 55 in a month. That isn't the way prices are rising. Yeah, we all sit around and go, hi, my name's Mike and I'm a railway addict. Yeah, I'm not actually. I've stopped buying locos. I'm down to about one a month.
Wow.
So, I'm not too bad.
Can you press that? The bad point.
The problem was N, because I suddenly got into the N, and we've got a few of those to do what I want to do with that. The 00 I'm largely done, because I've got pretty much anything I would want, really. I'd like the Deltic, which is one of the first locos we bought, is broken, the chassis is busted. Doug might fix it. If I can get one cheap, I might get a Deltic. I would quite like my 35, green 35 stopped working. Quite like one of those. I would quite like a warship.
I need an Intercity 125 buffet car.
Doug wants an Intercity 125 buffet car.
It's all that's
not
missing.
the blue-grey one, not the swallow one, the one that
not
goes
the black
with the
roof
Intercity
one,
125.
the grey roof Intercity 125 buffet car. They just don't seem to exist at the moment. That's all I need.
Yeah, Carl, a lot of people pointed that out, that's the problem is, yes, everybody's prices went up. They went up 10 or 20%. Hornby's prices went up 50%. And that, I think, was the problem. I've got no problem with markup. You know, everybody's in business, but you get to a point where you're charging more than you need to. I worked many years ago for a retailer that did that. Thought they could be clever, that people couldn't do price comparisons. It works for some products, so some of the ranges we sold it worked really well on. I remember talking to a buyer who added about 15% to a price of a product just to see what would happen, and we sold out. So fine, works. But we also had an awful lot of stuff that didn't sell because it was simply too expensive. Well, they were freight locos, 9Fs. So whilst the Evening Star might not have run with wagons because it was a special loco, the 9Fs certainly did. And of course, obviously, we don't worry about any of that kind of stuff anyway, so it's kind of immaterial, really. You're just as likely to see an LNER loco running with LMS coaches on our layouts. So as you say, yes, very much keeping with the run what we like theme.
It's double-headed.
I admire the people that know these things, and I do know a lot of it myself, but I just ignore it. I'm going to do about a quarter of an hour, Doug, and then I'm going to call it quits. I haven't got it down here, but I see before I did railways, because Doug wasn't really interested, I did wargaming. And there was a book called, I think it was Battle Board, and I should know the name of the author, but it changed mine because he wrote it in the 1970s when there was very little available. And what he said is, look, I'm not going to build a German army and an American army. My army needs a tank and it needs a field gun and it needs a truck, and so does that army. So he would have things like Russians with British trucks and German guns, and that's an anti-tank unit. And that's the way I went with that. And for me, yeah, thanks Evan, yeah, thanks you, and I got that and I missed it. For me, that's what railway's about. I want a station, that's a nice station building, I'll run it. I want a footbridge, that's a nice footbridge, I'll run it. I want a steam loco, I like that steam loco, that will do it. I need a coach, that coach will do it. And that's the way I work. Do I like it? Yes, I will. Do I care that it all went together in real life? Not one bit.
No!
Yeah, you're pushing your luck
No,
there.
that wasn't me. It wasn't the locos. It was the freight train has derailed massively in the tunnel. Can you pull it out from that end?
It was running too much. Is the answer, Doug. Doug gets carried away every so often. I'll let you sort the mess out.
I didn't do anything.
He pulls too much too quickly.
Nah.
Because he's a teenager, of course, everything's got to be done bigger, better, quicker, faster.
Yeah, that's why I like my really, really long intercity one.
Until experience teaches him that it won't work, of course. But you can't always put an old head on young shoulders. He's also brilliant at other things, so, you know, it swings and roundabouts.
I'm not going to get that. Push it through.
I don't know. You made the mess, you solved it.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a challenging time for all hobbies, especially a cost of living crisis. And I feel quite sorry for companies like Hornby in some ways, because what's happened is they've had a boom because of one unintended situation, COVID. They've price hiked just as they've run headlong into another unexpected crisis, which is a cost of living crisis. So all of a sudden you've banged all your prices up at a time when people are going to stop making discretionary spending. I used to work as a salesman in a hobby industry, which was always very badly affected every time there was any kind of downturn in the economy, because if it's a hobby or an interest, it's one of the first things to go. And it's a tricky time to be in. And I was in an industry again where it was all top end. So I used to sell gifts into the equestrian industry. But the equestrian industry, horses, is a top end hobby. It's very, very expensive to have horses. And so anytime there's anything like a recession, massively impacted, because it was, you know, one of the first things that used to go. It's an interesting hobby actually, because trains and things is usually a bloke's thing, horses is a girly thing. So you'd get the conversations in reverse. So we'd get, you know, my wife says I've got to stop buying locos, and you'd get it the other way with the ladies saying, well, my husband said I've got to stop riding the horse. So it was a strange other way around. But I wouldn't want to be starting in the hobby now. Well, it's the locos and the rolling stock's the problem. You know, your buildings and scenery is still pretty cheap to do. If you ignore the nonsense about not using second hand, then track's pretty cheap. It's the locos and rolling stock that currently is the problem. Stringline derailment is exactly what it was. You got it running now?
Yep. Double heading.
You got it being filmed running. So we're going to do till past, guys, everybody, and then we're going to stop. But it's been good talking to everybody tonight. Sorry?
For my mount.
Nearly all the Dad's Army. Dad's Army are wonderful because you can watch them on two levels. You can watch them as a comedy, and you can watch them as really a period piece on those characters which very much existed. I mean, I've been in the Army Cadets for 24 years, and every single one of those characters still exists. You know, Sergeant Wilson, there's not many of them, but they exist. You know, certainly, because you've got to understand that Mannering, really his heart is in the right place as well. So, yeah, no, absolutely. Anything to do with Dad's Army. Well, yeah, the latest rolling stock's expensive, but all the second-hand stuff's much more expensive than it used to be. So that's really where the problem lies, is that because a new coach is 60 quid, 40 quid if it's discounted, £25 for a coach doesn't sound too bad. But these are the same coaches that 2 years ago we were paying a tenner for. So it's all relative. Can you watch the stream back from the beginning as a video?
Yeah, you can rewind.
Great.
If not, like at the end when we're done, it will get uploaded as a video. Double-headed 9F is literally just a 9F and then another 9F behind it, and then put the power on and go. They're both 9Fs, they're both Hornby 9Fs, they run about the same. They're coupled together, they pull and push each other around, but it's fine.
Actually, I was quite a big fan of the remade Dad's Army films. I thought it was quite a good tribute to the original. But actually, one of my favourite Dad's Armies is the first one, where they're forming the unit, and I quite like the dynamics there. Yeah, it's a good one.
Oh yeah, I've been working out. I've drawn these lines. It's like the last place you can put a train in.
Yeah, yeah, so you know what they're for. Yeah. Oh, hello to... Oh, hello, Brittany. Good to see you. I do hope your other half is on the mend, because I know she's been poorly. So really good to hear from you, because I know you're a great supporter of us. What time is it in the US in Virginia at the moment?
That'll be the afternoon.
Is it the afternoon?
They're behind.
Yeah.
Like 3 in the afternoon, I reckon.
I must say a big thank you, actually, because we have quite a lot of American regular supporters, which is really great. Really great. You did miss the jokey stuff earlier about the differences in language, though. You can go back and watch that. Strange enough that it's American short lines in real life that are my favourite railways. I just love the idea that you've got these privately owned railways now that you know cover for industries and are run as these often family businesses, second-hand locos and things. To me, that's just fantastic. I will recreate that one day in Model 4. So good review and bad review of what, Ewan? Tess, you're probably talking about the TV programme. 4:20 p.m. on the East Coast. Thanks, Morris. Middle of the afternoon.
So it's what, 3 on the West Coast?
Yeah, 20 past 9 here. I wasn't very impressed. We've just come back from a cruise. P&O made sure that we moved all our clocks back, which we did. And I booked a early morning call for 6:30 in the morning, and they didn't change their own clocks, so they woke us at 5:30 in the morning, which I was less than impressed about. I'm supposed to be on holiday. However, we did get to go to Hamburg, and there was some serious railway action out the back of Hamburg port, which was really good to watch. Lots of electric locos and diesel shunters and freight yards and all sorts of things. Oh, the movie. Oh, well, yes, you see, it's like everything, you see. It's like people saying Sean Connery's the best Bond, you know, because he was more or less the first one. I mean, he's the best one. That's the one they liked when they were a kid. Daniel Craig's an absolutely superb James Bond. Doesn't mean I don't like Sean Connery's version occasionally. And the movie's the same. If you are a huge fan of Dad's Army, you probably didn't appreciate the second movie. But, you know, it was, I thought it was quite enjoyable. I thought it was quite clever casting, to be honest. Yeah, Doug's quite clever with his electrics. Yeah, it's not my forte.
Capacitors are great fun. Just don't wire the capacitors backwards. Then you'll be having even more fun.
A little bit of family history there, actually, because my father in the 1940s, his mother, my grandmother, made him become an electrician because electricians were reserved occupations. It meant he couldn't get called up for the war, which drove my dad mad because obviously he wanted to get called up. When he was finally called up in 1947 to do his national service, he had to go into the Royal Signals because he was an electrician. But he hated being an electrician, so he then had to fail all his exams, which wasn't very hard, because what he really wanted to do is be a driver, which they eventually what they made him. So Doug's gone the other way, bless him, and really likes his electronics. Video froze apparently.
Video going fun.
Yeah, we've never got into signals. We might do light signals one day, mightn't we?
Yeah.
Yeah. However, I won't be linking them to the points so that the points won't change and the trains won't run if the signals aren't set. Oh, New Zealand as well. So what time is it in New Zealand?
Is it getting up to? It must be more early morning, surely.
Yeah, I think yes. I think the short lines are speed restricted, if only because, of course, even mainline American freight runs at about 40 miles an hour because they're so huge. Well, yeah, George Lazenby was really good. If only he hadn't got greedy and had made a second film, I would agree with you there. I always thought George Lazenby, that was one of the best Bond movies ever when I was a kid. But as I understand it, he got greedy with the contract negotiations afterwards. So did we find out what time it... Oh, it's 8:25 in the morning.
Yeah, I said it'd be the morning.
In New Zealand. Well, thank you for being with us. So is it Monday morning or Sunday morning?
Monday morning.
Monday morning. Should you not be at work? Don't want to keep you from work. Oh, well, let's not even get started on Doctor Who's. Who is the best Doctor Who, Doug?
Matt Smith.
Matt Smith, according to Doug.
Or David Tennant. They're both
Or
good.
David Tennant. I like both of them, actually.
They're the two.
However, of course, the best Doctor Who assistant ever was Bernard Cribbins in the films. Perfect. Bernard Cribbins, wonderful. Oh, changes various shuttle module, very clever. Yeah, we might get... I might do electric light signals on some of my N-gauge at some point.
Yeah, the problem is like electric light signals are more of a modern thing, but I'm sure I could probably do something with servo motors to
He's at work.
change modern ones.
Excellent. Watching us while you're at work. Well done.
Don't know, should we continue this?
Superb. I'll take it you're in the office. Tom Baker.
Who even is that?
It's one of the other Doctor Who's.
What, like an
Had
old
the
one
long
or a
scarf.
new one?
Old one, a very long
Oh, okay.
scarf, which everybody copied. My brother had one of the scarves, it's a 20-foot long scarf or something. Yeah. Big business now, of course, Doctor Who. You know, it's interesting, isn't it? You know, they stopped it because they didn't think there was any money in it. And then 10 years, whatever it was later, it becomes this huge worldwide phenomenon. You'll be talking about. Oh, it's just gone right out of my head. What was the other science fiction one that was awful in the 80s? Somebody will remind me. Somebody will remind me. It's just gone right out of my head.
Star Trek.
No. I don't even know. Does Doctor Who now?
No.
I haven't watched it. All I know is I'm still terrified of the Cybermen. So when I was a little kid, the Cybermen used to come and I used to hide behind the sofa and practically wet myself. I was scared shitless of the Cybermen, and I still am. If I see a picture of them, I have exactly the same emotional trauma that I had as a child. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Oh, he's got a saw running. So he's busy in a workshop. Excellent. Blake 7. Thank you. Yes, correct. Yeah, Daleks didn't bother me. Daleks didn't bother me. In fact, if anybody's a Dalek fan and they remember, I think it was Stavros, which was the leader of the Daleks. When I was a junior manager, that was my nickname from a couple of my colleagues, because I still am, but was even more so when I was younger, a very black and white individual who didn't take many prisoners. And so I got called Stavros, as this unemotional, hard and horrid leader of the Daleks. And as any of my staff and army cadets will tell you now, I haven't changed in 40 years. I'm not much better as a dad, am I, Doug?
No.
Blake 7. Doug, what's going on here?
What?
Oh, it's your wristband thingy. It's really odd.
Spider.
Yeah, that's what I thought. What do you mean, what's scary about Cybermen? They're terrifying when you're little. They've got hoover pipes out their head, for one thing. You be big and brave if you like, but I don't like Cybermen. Cybermen and spiders, not a fan. Doug? Actually, I'll get Doug to see if we can do a 3D scan or something of a Cyberman to put a Cyberman on the layout. That'd be brilliant.
You could just buy one online.
Davros, thank you. Yeah, we're going to see if we can get a Cyberman to put on the layout. Oh, your class 90, Doug, was £90 new.
Is that expensive? I don't know.
It was £90 new. You paid 35 quid for it.
Oh yeah. And it's basically new.
It is basically new. Yeah, it is basically new. Yeah, they were only about a year or so ago at that price. I remember looking at them in Kerno Models. Yeah, Davros, that's it. No, he shouldn't have done. He shouldn't have fiddled.
Yeah, really.
Teenagers for you. Might have been the 80s. I was growing up in the 80s, so got to be before the 80s. So I was born in 1964, if anybody's trying to do the maths. So of course, 3 channels of black and white TV in your parents' front room. So very, very different world to now. Very different world to now. We have to put Cyberman on the layout. We might do that, or a Dalek. I've seen Daleks on layouts.
I'm sure there'll be a 3D scan. Put one on the platform.
Oh, it's already got Daleks Cyberman's layout, so we might have to do that. My sister's first husband, back in the 1980s, used to have a life-size Dalek which he used to run up and down his driveway and get motorists to stop and crash into each other to watch. Yeah, Secret Anoraks, what it's about. Buy a Loco because you like it and run it. You know, the one we showed just now, the Hornby one, I bought, and I said, you know, thank you for supporting us, because I bought just to see how it would run. It's not the world's most useful livery, but I'm happy to run it, and it was good to get to do a review video of, because it's actually an okay. Where did we put it? The green 060. It's actually quite a nice little loco. In fact, remind me, Doug, I need to do an update of this, because actually once it's had a bit of a run, it's been quite a good little loco, and they're available for about £60. So that's a good little loco actually. Yeah. So there we go. I will give it 10 more minutes, but then it's getting towards my bedtime. So you're getting the nostalgia from the 70s and 80s. See, it's a different world, you see, because there's so little TV that far more people remember it. So you've now got 56 channels. So of course you don't get the viewing figures. So Doug's generation, probably he's watched programs that his mates haven't. But of course we all grew up watching the same things because that's all there was to watch. Speedlink minks freight trains. Oh, that's worth going. I was reading that. Oh, there you go. That's really helpful. Thank you for that, Jack. You can run your 90s as a freight train.
Red and grey ferry plans. Does that mean the rail freighters?
Yeah. It'd look great on a freight train, Doug. Yeah, well, all your rail freights, your tankers and all sorts of things. Yep. I've got loads of books actually on the modern scene, and I'll get them out now that we've got a 90 and have a look at. Yeah, I remember watching breakfast TV. Yeah, just amazing. Because there was TV finished at whatever it did, about 10 o'clock at night, and started at lunchtime. Nobody ever went sick from school, because what was the point? You were going to sit at home and get bored. So they never bothered skiving off school to stay at home if you were ill. Might as well go to school. I've always had to sit and watch House Party in the afternoon. That's some trauma there for some people. 3D TARDIS on the Coke chassis, yes you could. You know that little thing that we built? Yeah, you could. It'd be out of scale, it'd be epic, wouldn't it? Yeah. Oh, Doug, where's your military train?
This guy.
No. You're articulated.
Oh, yeah. I don't actually know. I've realised that you've broken my chassis when you took your engage out off.
And you lost the part for it, so I don't know how I'm going to fix that now. Oh, the part for it is here.
Yeah. It was already broken.
I didn't break that. I did break the other one in the other place, but I didn't break that.
Yeah. Articulated 3D printed loco to fit on 2 Lima HO Class 33 chassis.
So it looks like it's completely seamless because the way I've designed it. So the 2 chassis will fit in either end there, and then it's seamless in the middle.
Yeah, you can get a 90 in the red postal. That'd be wonderful, wouldn't it? I'll have to look out for some 90s. I'm quite impressed with that.
They're very cheap.
I'm not putting Cantanary on the layout, so you're out.
No, but that's why I think they are cheap.
K9 almost grown up by the time K9 came along. A TARDIS would solve all model railway layout problems, wouldn't it? That's a brilliant idea, because you'd build your layout in the TARDIS, which is only 6 foot square, and it would be bigger. That is a great idea. That's what we all need, is a TARDIS to build a model railway layout. I love that idea. No. So, yeah.
Do you want to make it to the 2 hour mark? Sure.
Yeah, we'll make it to, what time's that?
Oh, it's in 6 minutes.
Yeah, we'll do 2 hours, then we'll call it quits. You need to go and find it. Mum's gone to bed. But hopefully you've enjoyed sitting and watching us and waffling about Dad's Army and Doctor Who and all sorts of stuff. Yeah. The interesting thing is, of course, is all these TV programmes are never. You always think they're brilliant. When you finally get hold of them, which you can now, you think, God, they were rubbish. And the only one that it's like watching The Professionals, which when I was a kid was really, really cutting edge. You know, really a bit violent, whatever. You watch it now and it's so lame. But I saw a film once when I was about 17 called The Odd Angry Shot, and managed about 6 years ago to get a DVD of it, and it was far better than I remembered it. And it's the only time I've gone back and seen something from 30, 40 years ago and gone, that's better than I thought it was. FDM or resin? No, you can answer that one, Doug.
FDM. FDM is superior. Resin is messy. It's very detailed. Faster, but not really. Because everyone goes, look, I resin printed this thing in like half an hour. Yeah, sure you did. Yeah, you did. And then you had to cure it and wash it and dry it, and that process takes like 3 hours no matter what. So yeah, no, I'd rather just FDM, know how to use FDM properly, know the limits of FDM and how to design things for FDM.
We
How
came
to
to the
slice it for
conclusion that
FDM.
people didn't know how to use 3D FDM printers.
You know how
They
to
didn't know
use
how to
FDM.
design it, and they didn't know how to print it. If you print it as kits, the detail
Or
is
even
fantastic.
just design it properly.
People didn't know how to do that. Resin appeared to solve those problems, so everybody raves about resin. But actually,
Without knowing how
you
to
can
actually
actually
use
do it.
FDM.
It's a self-created problem which resin's been able to solve, basically.
Ish. Apart from the cleaning and the mess. And the smell.
Yeah. There was a guy who wrote a really good article, and he watched every single episode of the Sweeney because 9 times out of 10 there was a train in the background, and they set so many episodes in railway yards and things like that, and he actually did this thing and said, this is how much railways there are in the Sweeney. Trumpton. If you want to see Trumpton, you need to see the beginning shot of one of the Life on Mars episodes. That's really funny. Trumpton, Camberwick Green, and I want to say Chidding something or other. Can't remember. What FDM printer should you use?
We're at the moment using the Sidewinder X2, which is amazing. It's definitely over the top for a first printer, but it is awesome.
The little cheap one.
Yeah, for a beginner, you cannot go wrong with the Ender 2 Pro that we reviewed. If you want to go for something a little bit bigger, Ender 3s, Creality Ender 3s, they did us a valiant service. They are what we had like 8 of when we were 3D printing, mass printing kits through lockdown for you. Yeah, Ender 3s will just go and keep going and then break and then be able to fix really easily and then keep going, and yeah, Ender 3s are amazing.
Chigley, thank you. Chigley, Trumpton and Camberwick Green. Yep. You don't know what you missed in your childhood.
I don't know what you're talking about.
But
If you want to go for something more fancy, go for an Ender 3 S1 Pro.
Ivor the Engine, Nogbad the Bad, just saying. Yeah, definitely Ivor the Engine. Nogbad the Bad, can't remember what the other one was. Yeah, of course, the classic 1940s film, Brief Encounter, loads of trains, where they say, I care for you very much, because they weren't allowed to say, I love you in 1940. Cuthbert Dibble Grub, and you always wondered if one of them was going to run in front of the fire engine and get run over. That's wonderful, that comment. That will mean nothing to anybody.
Poo-poo, Barney, McGrew, Cuthbert, Dibblegrub.
Yep, that will mean absolutely nothing to about 90% of the people
Did
watching
you
this.
just like, did a cat run across your keyboard or something?
Yeah, the fireman. Yeah, I can't remember it. Pew Pew, Barney McGrew, Cuthbert Dibble Grub.
No. Detail in FDM is a con. You can get plenty of detail in FDM. This here is an OO gauge. Oh, I don't know what he is. One of my friends found him online. He's like an orc or something with a machine gun. Oh, this.
Does this camera show it any better over here? Hold on.
Come on, focus.
Not enough light.
Oh, focus.
The real issue is...
There we go, look at that.
You can get...
That is FDM printed and it's
Yep.
OO scale. The guy is 20
We've
millimeters
done-
tall.
separate handrails in FDM, we've done rivets. It's all a question of can you design and does your software and your slicer allow you to do it. If you see, Doug, bless him, did 2 years of CAD at college, so if you know how to do CAD, there is nothing wrong with FDM. The problem is most people don't. Bosses don't get caught up well. Thanks for watching. The difficulty is that the vast majority of people cannot design and use an FDM printer. You can get... I haven't seen anything done in resin that couldn't be done in FDM. The only real difference is that you can do it in one piece with resin, but that doesn't necessarily... Well, it doesn't necessarily solve the problem. Because in fact doing it as a kit and some add-on bits gives you the detail you want anyway. It's just how you design it. It's very similar to a company called Armourfast, who made very click-together model tanks, and initially tried to do them as fewer pieces as possible, and then realised simply by adding another 5 or 6 pieces, they could make an awful lot more detail, and suddenly the business took off.
That figure was printed on my friend's Ender 3, just a stock Ender 3.
Yeah, it's not even an expensive printer.
Yeah, it's like £150 printer now. You can get them second hand for like £75. Yeah, any FDM printer will print it to that quality. Is just get the settings right, and anything will print it like that.
It's the settings. The advantage of resin is that you didn't have so much trouble with the settings, but everybody then seems to have trouble with curing and washing and God knows what else. So, yeah. Put it this way: we've been offered resin printers, and we're not taking any more resin printers. I've got one more.
We have one more to come.
One more to do, just to see if it's any better than the other one we had. But that will probably be the limit of it. No, we don't use electronic track cleaners because they're expensive. We use any kind of solvent. So, what is it called?
Isopropyl alcohol.
Isopropyl alcohol.
Otherwise known as rubbing alcohol.
WD-40, Windowline, anything like that. Steel, because we use steel track, you can use a track rubber or a very fine piece of emery board will do it fine because it's steel track. And we don't have any trouble with that. We are budget model railways. So. Yeah. So actually, what time is it? Yeah, we really need to finish at 10 because I can't be late because I've got a busy day tomorrow.
Yep.
So there we go. We got any last minute questions? So we'll last sort of 10 minutes or so. So if you want to bung down anything else you want to know, then happy to do that. Yeah, the 4D kits seem quite good. 3D printing is definitely going to, I think, make a big difference to model railways because it will give people the opportunity to do things they couldn't do otherwise. Very disappointing that some of the initial articles in things like Continental Modeler were just printing boxes when you could be printing locos and loads for your wagons and all sorts of things. It's very interesting when you see people now 3D printing actual locos, and I do think, where have you got that from? You know, have you scanned a Hornby body? Have you paid the license fee? You know, bloody blah. Actual factual locos is a totally different ball game to doing freelance ones. Largest layouts we've ever made is this one in the shed, because it's 12 foot by 8 foot on several levels. So that's easily the largest we've ever made. Because the loft was nominally 9 foot by 9 foot, so not quite as big as this. I must do a video on painting people. Next time I paint some people, I will. Probably not going to do many new 3D designs now because we can only really do them when Doug's on holidays. It's only going to be a couple of times a year, so we will continue to kind of run that side of the business down a bit, really. So there won't be much new. But yeah, I do need to do it. I mean, actually, people is relatively simple. It's black washing and dry brushing, which is a war games technique. I've seen some real nonsense on in magazines and things. Paint them the bold colours you want, black wash them, let it dry brush them, and they'll look great. What size rating on diodes, and do you have a plus and minus? Is that raining? Oh, no, it's loco running rain.
There we go. So for the point motors, just use 1 amp diodes. It's not that there's a plus and minus, but basically there's a go and a no. That's how they work. So they block voltage in one direction. So they look like that, the tiny little things. But one end has a little silver line. And so if you're coming into the end that's a silver line, that's no voltage will go. If the positive is going the other way, then voltage goes. So when you're wiring up the diode matrix, the silver line needs to be pointing towards your point motor, and then the black part of it needs to be on your switch.
Yes, you
I
can.
will do a massive long video on actually just wiring that up at some point.
Yes, you can still get parts for the controller. They're still available on eBay and China.
Yeah,
and
the
things
links
like
that are on our website to them might not work anymore because they were like a year old. But if you literally just search like PWM unit and find, they're all standard. Like no matter what seller you're getting it from, they are the exact same unit. So just search for it. It's the one that looks like the photo of it on our website.
Okay, I'm going to go in a minute because I need to get a drink.
Yep.
Getting quite dry. So I'll give it a couple more minutes. We'll finish at sort of 10 to. But thank you for everybody that's watched. I don't know what our watch total is. Great to see people from America and New Zealand. Thank you very much.
Total 612 people.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Wire thickness for points.
Oh yeah, don't go over the top. We use whatever the hell we have lying around. I think some of it's like 0.5 mil on the insulation. Like you're dealing with very, very low powers. You can use tiny wire. It doesn't matter. Yeah, like anything. Some of our wire is tiny. Really doesn't matter. You're not dealing with high power.
But don't buy the model railway wire because it's
So
ridiculously expensive. Just find an
Just go on eBay.
electrical
Search for
supply or
wire.
eBay or hunt around.
The reason that we always use wire of the same colour, as annoying as it is for myself and you sometimes, is that it's way cheaper to just buy 100 metres of one colour than it is to buy little bits of 2 different colours. So that's why we always use one colour. Just buy a load of wire, massive drum of it in one colour.
Could buy 2 different colours.
You could do, but then it gets expensive.
Yeah.
You just buy one big drum, spend your money on one big drum of one colour. It's the cheapest way of doing it.
Oh, hi to Kentucky. Sorry, we're just finishing, but great to hear from Kentucky.
Old SCART leads. That is, yeah, that's going to be very overkill. That's incredibly thick.
A 30s cold tray, who knows? I mean, some of them were massive. Depends what was pulling them, doesn't it? Really. Have a look in some books. You know, you'll soon find pictures that will answer that sort of question.
Yeah, 22 gauge wire is fine. I think that's probably what a lot of this is.
Yeah. But I mean, equally, the reality is that most real trains were far longer than you could ever recreate. I mean, I found a picture the other day of something like an 08 shunter pulling 20 or 30 wagons in a goods yard. You know, well, you're not going to get 20 or 30 wagons on most layouts. I mean, I think we tried it as a joke in here once, and once you're up to about 30 or 40 wagons, the loco's almost meeting the end of the train as you go round. So, you know, you're never going to run realistic.
I need to put all my intercity coaches behind one train at some point.
Right, okay, guys. I think we're going to call that quits now.
Where's the uncoupler? I've had a silly idea. I now must do.
I'm going to leave you with Doug.
Are you coming back?
I need to go.
Okay, we'll end it then.
No, that's fine. We're doing one another time. But thank you very much, as always, for watching. We've done a couple of hours there, actually. We'll try and do at least a couple more of these. Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah. What's coming? We'll try and do a couple of these while Doug's home for the holidays. And then that means we'll almost certainly then do one at Christmas as well. So that's great. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll